This is the Nokia N97, the phone that was supposed to save Nokia and almost did. Released in 2009, it was the most expensive Nokia ever made. But what happened next is a cautionary tale for the whole industry. Before the iPhone 4, before Android took over, there was a brief moment, a real moment, when Nokia had one last shot.
The year the iPhone launched, Nokia was selling over 40% of all smartphones on Earth. They were untouchable. Or so they thought.
Deep inside Nokia's labs, a team had been building something ambitious. A touchscreen phone with a full QWERTY keyboard and a proper camera. This was Project Tube, a device meant to prove Nokia still owned the premium smartphone space. It would become the N97.
Let's talk hardware. The N97 had a 3.5-inch resistive touchscreen, not the capacitive glass we know today, but sharp and detailed for its time. A full physical QWERTY keyboard and side buttons for quick access.
Underneath sat a full sliding QWERTY keyboard that propped the screen at a comfortable tilt, perfect for typing long messages or emails. On the back, a 5-megapixel Carl Zeiss camera with autofocus, genuinely excellent for 2009. Nokia's optics was second to none.
32 gigabytes of internal storage. At a time when most phones shipped with 4 or 8, that number was absolutely wild.
Plus a micro SD card slot for even more storage. Nokia was not being shy about targeting power users. Built-in GPS, a 3.5mm headphone jack, FM radio, and dedicated media keys. On paper, this was the complete package. Nokia announced the N97 in December 2008 to thunderous applause. Pre-orders broke records. The hype was real and it was enormous. But it launched at premium prices, over £550 in the UK, nearly $700 in the US. Nokia was betting everything on this device. The unboxing experience was genuinely premium. Everything felt deliberate, considered. Nokia still knew how to make something feel special. Then you turned it on, and the cracks appeared, literally on day one. The resistive touchscreen required pressure. It was sluggish to respond. Symbian S60 Touch was the operating system. It was powerful but designed for buttons, not fingers. Every swipe felt like a battle. The OV Store had launched but was thin. Where the App Store had hundreds of thousands of apps, OV had a fraction. The ecosystem gap was brutal. The iPhone 3GS launched the same month. Same price, smoother in every way. Reviewers started making the comparison on page 1.
Tech press that had championed Nokia for years turned on the N97 almost instantly. The reviews were devastating.
Nokia issued emergency software updates within weeks of launch. Then more updates. The device had shipped before it was ready.
Nokia's smartphone market share began its historic collapse, from 40% in 2007 to single digits by 2012. The N97 was the turning point. But here is the thing that gets lost in all the postmortems. The N97 was genuinely ahead in several ways that still matter. Its GPS and offline maps worked better than anything Apple offered at launch. Nokia Maps in 2009 was class-leading, full stop. The camera was flat out better than the iPhone 3GS in detail and color accuracy. Carl Zeiss glass was no marketing gimmick. That physical keyboard, for people who wrote emails and documents on their phone, it was a genuine productivity advantage that touchscreens took years to match. Nokia tried again with the sublime N9, then sold its handset division to Microsoft, then got rebooted under HMD Global. The saga never really ended. The N97 failed not because Nokia lacked vision, it failed because execution and software ecosystem were underestimated until it was too late. It is one of the most consequential failed products in tech history, a device that had almost everything except the one thing that mattered most, a platform people wanted to live inside. If you found this interesting, subscribe. More deep dives on the phones that shaped and shook the industry are coming every week.